This we have learned about forward feed. We have learned about loss. We have come across the term optimizers, and then we have come across what is known as back propagation. I also taught about epoch and how moving forward once and backwards updating the weight is known as one epoch, and many epochs together form one training. Okay, so now let us discuss about the different activation functions. Just a small recap, what exactly was an activation function? You had this neuron here, you had all the inputs going in. You first had a summation where the inputs were multiplied with different weights, and after that this output here, which was known as Z, was passed through a function, that is an activation function, to give the final output. I hope everyone remembers that. If not, you can go and check out the previous lessons. So now we will talk about the different activation functions here. So the first activation function that I will talk about is the sigmoid function. The sigmoid function is this is the formula of a sigmoid function. Exp of minus z is basically e to the power minus z. So, and this z again, if you remember, you have all this summed up value which is known as z. So, suppose you have weight 1, weight 2 and so on till weight n multiplied by the inputs. All this summed together forms a z. This z is passed to an activation function. So this is the first activation function, sigmoid function. So the value of the sigmoid function is 1 by 1 plus e to the power minus z. This sigmoid function lies between 0 to 1, which is a very good thing because this can be used in classifiers then to give us some values, and these values we can take as predictions of or the probabilities of how this is happening or not happening. You might have read about sigmoid in logistic regressions. Next, let's come across the derivative of sigmoid function. So why do we need the derivative? If you remember, we had optimizers, and in optimizers we used to calculate the loss with respect to the weights, but there was a chain rule, so we had to calculate the loss with respect to the output and then the derivative of the output with respect to the weights. So for calculating the derivative with respect to the output or calculating the derivative of the output, you need these derivatives. Hence, this is the derivative of a sigmoid function. So the derivative is equal to, first let me write the sigmoid function. Now the derivative of the sigmoid function is equal to a into 1 minus a, where a is this value, right? So a good thing about this is you don't have to calculate everything because you have already calculated the value of a. So you can just place values and that saves a lot of computations. So this is about the sigmoid function. Let us move on to the next function. Okay, one thing here you might have noticed is sigmoid lies between 0 to 1. Its value does not go beyond 0. So now let us move on to the next function, the tanh function. So this green line here, this represents the tanh function. So what is the formula of a tanh function? It is e to the power z minus e to the power minus z divided by e to the power z plus e to the power minus z. So why use the tanh function? Like I mentioned, sigmoid lies between 0 to 1. So for any values where you have negative numbers, suppose z is in negative, it will not give very good negative impact to that. So you have tan h function which lies between -1 to 1, and this is the equation of a tan h function. Now again the derivative is pretty easy here. The derivative is equal to 1 minus a square, where a is e to the power z minus e to the power minus z by e to the power z plus e to the power minus z. Simple. Again, it's very easy to calculate this, and this is because you already know the value of a. It has already been calculated here. Okay, so now let us move on to the next function. This is known as the ReLU or rectified linear units. In short, ReLU. Okay, so as you can see, here is a chart which shows the comparison of sigmoid with ReLU. Now the problem with sigmoid and tan h was it was a lot of calculations. So we had to somehow reduce this. So we came across ReLU, and this is very simple. The function of ReLU is 0, z, maximum of 0, z. That means if you have suppose a number, let's say 2. So what maximum of 0, 2 will be 2. So the ReLU will just give the output 2. In the same way, if you get -2, the maximum of 0 and -2 will be 0. So you will get the output as 0. Right? Okay, now let us talk about the graph of its derivative. So you have 1 here, this is 0, then this goes on to 3. So for any positive number, the derivative will be 1. Derivative here is 1. For negative numbers, the derivative will be 0. So you can already understand the problem that we are going to have. So let us talk about the problems with ReLU. So the very first problem is dying ReLU or dying neurons. So what is this problem? Okay, for all values that are greater than 0. So anytime when you have the summation value z greater than 0, you can always get a value of 1. So while differentiation, you will have the value 1. But suppose for any case you have z less than 0. So in that case it equally forms a 0. It comes and equates the value to 0. Now whatever you multiply with 0, so if you have this suppose, so dh1 by dh2 let's say, and dh2 by weights. So if any of this becomes 0, the whole thing automatically becomes 0. So if we look at the formula, minus eta times of differentiation, this whole term becomes 0. So you don't have any updating weight here. So whatever you give as a random weight remains the same weight even after a lot of calculations. So this problem is known as the dying ReLU problem or the dying neuron problem. So this was one of the problems with ReLU. What was the problem with sigmoid and tan h? Well, it was a lot of calculations like I said, and sigmoid has values lying between 0 and 1 while tan h had it from -1 to 1. So tan h gave a more better impact when it came to negative values. So the next option we came across was leaky ReLU. This tried to solve the problem of ReLU. So what is the function of leaky ReLU? It is max of 0.01 z, z. So instead of 0, you multiply this with a very small number and you get some output. Okay, so that means suppose you have 2. So here you will get the output of maximum of 0.01 into 2, that is 0.02, comma 2. So you will get a maximum value 2. So you will get the output 2. For negative value, maximum of -2 or minus 0.002, you will get minus 0.002. 0.02, sorry. So what happened it tried to eliminate the problem of dying neurons or dying ReLU using this function. So this is the graph of a ReLU. You can see here. This is a leaky ReLU graph. Instead of just going negative here, it gives a slight variation. Okay, and the derivative is very simple. So the derivative will be equal to 0.01 if z is less than 0 and z if z is greater than equal to 0. This is the derivative. So now let us move into the next parameterized ReLU. So the one question that you have is why take 0.01, right? We can take any other number. So hence came the concept of parameterized ReLU. Here the function is maximum of alpha z, comma z, where alpha can be any number that has been trained by the model. So the model itself decides what is the best number to multiply this with. Okay, so this is very similar to leaky ReLU. So if alpha becomes 0.01, this becomes leaky ReLU. And what is the derivatives? So we have alpha if z is less than 0 and 1 if z is greater than equal to 0. Okay, so we have this. The next thing that we come across is ELU. So ELU is basically exponential ReLU. So here the function is alpha of e to the power z minus 1 or z if z is less than 0 and this is for z greater than equal to 0. So this is the function of ELU and the derivative will be equal to again alpha e to the power z for z less than 0 and 1 for z greater than equal to 0. Okay, we have all this, but there was one problem that ReLU always had. If you look here, so the thing is, it is not differentiable at 0. So you don't know what the value will be at 0. So this was one of the problems that was always there in ReLU. However, it solved most of the problems with sigmoid and tanh function. So it is a pretty good activation function and it is used quite a lot. So next, after ELU comes the swish function. The paper for this was released by Google researchers and this brings the both of good versions of ReLU and sigmoid together to form swish. And what is the formula for this? It is equal to z into sigmoid of z. By the way, sigmoid of z is also written as this. So the derivative of this will be equal to sigmoid of z plus z into sigmoid of z into 1 minus sigmoid z. So this is the derivatives of swish function. If you will look here carefully, this blue one is the ReLU function and orange is the swish function. Now it is very close to this ReLU function, so the similarities are uncanny, but if you will look here, this point is differentiable here for the swish function. So this problem actually helped a lot, and in the ImageNet task it gave extra 1% of accuracy using this function. And let us come to the final function, the softmax function. So this is used a lot for multi-class classification. That means when you have more than one class and the formula for or the activation function for softmax is e to the power z by summation of e to the power z. So this is for the activation softmax function. Here you can see again it lies between -1 and 1. So what we covered are different activation functions today. In the next class, we will learn why we use some activations and not the other activations, where to use which activation, and what were some of the problems with the previous activations. Thank you for watching the video and keep learning.